Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest. Today, we're going to be reviewing the last spell. It is an early access tactical game that was released on Steam a couple weeks ago. I'm about 50 hours in. I've been really enjoying this game. We're going to try and objectively go through what's great, what's working, and what they might be improving on. And hopefully this will help you make a purchasing decision on whether or not you want to play this game. Let's dig in. So the last spell kind of has a very normal gameplay loop, and it's not going to be a tactical game like you're probably used to. I think when a lot of people think tactical games, they think something like Civilization in terms of like 4X, or they think of Final Fantasy Tactics, and this is a little bit of both, a little bit of base management and individual character management. Essentially, it's a roguelike. You can unlock things throughout the gameplay. You can build buildings to help support you. You have limited resources, and you kind of have to put it all together. The RNG in the game can be a little extreme, and I'll go ahead and show you that though as we are going through. I have beaten the game, and let's show you the current phase we're in, which is the production phase. Now, this happens basically before every round of opponents that are coming through. You can see that I'm going to have enemies coming through this way from the mist. Now, the mist is a mechanic where the mist moves closer to the city each round. Enemies basically spawn from the mist. You can repel the mist, which is a gameplay mechanic, but it does get difficult as the mist moves forward and spawns different enemies. Let's talk about the unlocks, because like any roguelike, this game is based on the unlocks, and it's going to be one of those situations where, you know, unlocking things in the first part of the game can be pretty difficult, and you're probably going to have to play through the first hour or two. And it honestly, before you get a lot of the fun unlocks, the game is a little bit of a grind. And once you kind of figure out where you're going and the direction you're going, it gets a lot more fun. So there's two different unlock systems. One of them is from killing enemies. And you can see here the unlocks that I have are like more power staffs, more tomes of secret. I can have access to a watchtower, which is a new defense piece of equipment that adds vision. I can give better magic heroes. So when my magic heroes spawn, they get +3 daily mana regen. I can get more equipment. I can get ranged heroes with +1 skill range. There is a variety of different unlocks, and it has that roguelike element where it's like you're slowly progressing over time, which is great. The only problem is a lot of the roguelike elements are blocked behind this. So for example, a lot of the weapons you have to unlock in this unlock system, and so you do have to play through like 3 or 4 times and unlock the different weapons. It would be nice if there was just like all the base weapons were unlocked and then you unlock more powerful versions of them. That would have been a little bit better. But other than kind of the first part of the drag, it is not too bad in terms of unlocks. Then on the other side of things, you have your achievement unlocks. Now, your achievement unlocks are achieving certain objectives in the game. This might be like getting a level 10 hero. This might be crafting a certain amount of equipment. And these unlocks are permanent unlocks, which are nice additions. Some of them unlock purchasable roguelike elements in the other shop. For example, like if you get a ranger level 10, potentially, you might unlock like a different special type of bow for them, or they might be able to get a special upgrade or start with a special upgrade. So I do like this because it does give you something to strive for in your playthroughs. Right, you can, try and build a unique build with a character to have like critical hit, a certain amount, where normally you might not go for a critical hit build. So in terms of all the roguelike aspects on unlocking things, I think it's a really great system. It's just a little bit of a grind to get started. Now, in the actual town system, you do have your level ups, you have your kind of rewards that you can receive. So let's go ahead and receive our reward from the night previous. And you can see that the weapons it has here have certain different elements about them, which is great, right? Because there's a very robust equipment system. The problem again, though, is that the equipment system is locked behind those unlocks. So until you really get a lot of unlocks, you're not going to get a lot of different unique equipments unlocked here. You can see I got 2 blue And I think I'm going to go with the move points and the skill range. And we'll select that piece of gear. And let's go show you how the level up character system works here. So your characters are randomly generated, and each run starts with a fighter, a mage, and a ranger character. And how the level up system works is you get 2 rerolls, you have some passive traits you can get here, and you can see that it's a percentage-based increase system. So right now, Meryl has critical hit 4 to 8%, resistance to 4%, and I get to choose which of these I want to buff. Let's say I don't want to buff any of these though. Or maybe I want to see and try and get lucky. I could re-roll the attributes, and look, I got move points, which is actually a pretty rare one. So this is your basic primary attribute. So I'm going to pick move points, and then you also get a secondary attribute. Now, your secondary attribute is going to be a variety of debuffs or buffs to your character that are going to affect their gameplay. So for example, Meryl is a great sword user. So poison damage would not do anything for her because she's not dealing in poison damage. However, something like resistance reduction might be something good for her. We could maybe do critical damage, but again, I'm not really seeing anything here. I would like to see accuracy or potentially EXP up. So I'm gonna re-roll, and I'm gonna go with daily health regen, just because that's kind of what popped up. Now, you also get perks, and thankfully, the perks have been a little bit overpowered, but you do actually have a situation where the developers are actively involved in the game and actively adjusting the game. So we are seeing adjustments in early access to make these less powerful. So we're going to go ahead and go with the EXP perk here. Now, there are 2 different resources. There's gold, where you can build buildings. You can build things like a blacksmith right here. And you have another resource called workers. So like if I built a blacksmith and then I had my 2 workers work here, I can also upgrade the blacksmith station. I am going to get a new piece of equipment from the blacksmith. And you do get a weapon from just crafting them. So I do have a character that uses a greatsword. I could equip a greatsword on them, or I could go the hammer route because it's a hammer +2. You really kind of have to decide and choose, and all the weapons have different abilities. So you'll notice here that the hammer has hammer-based abilities, and you can cycle through them and see kind of what they do. And then the two-handed sword has two-handed sword abilities. So let's say I wanted to experiment with what the two-handed sword versus the hammer does. I'm going to click on my little character out here. I'm going to take him out here, and let's just see what the different attacks do. This is his primary attack. This is his secondary attack. He has a dash attack like that, and he has a 6-range swipe attack. Now I could equip them, and I could throw the hammer on, and suddenly this player is going to change completely how he plays. He's going to have a regular attack, he's going to have an AoE attack, he's going to have a stun attack, and so how he functions is going to change. Now, gold, of course, is a limited resource, and then you also have what's called materials. Now, materials can be used to build things like catapults. You can build walls with both vision over and not over the different walls. And so you can really change up how you play. You can lay traps out here, right? You can really build your base how you want. This does have problems though, because if you build stone walls, you're not going to be able to shoot over it. So you really want to think about where you're placing things, how you're building your defenses. You don't want to go all in on one side, because what if on the next evening, the enemies do attack you from the other side? Let's go ahead though. Let's start the next wave. We are going to level up our characters here. You can see that once we level them up, we'll be able to start the next engagement, and we'll show you some combat gameplay. You can see also that there are things in the attribute menu when we level them up that are rare and uncommon. So he got a rare roll for movement up, and he's getting 3 different rare rolls and 1 uncommon roll. We'll go for just generic damage, and we'll just bust them out right now quite quickly. So of course, physical damage isn't going to do anything for her, but I just wanted to get through that. I'm going to end the phase. Oh, they want me to collect my rewards. So let's collect that. And then this would be the deployment phase. So you can select your characters. Your primary character usage, you're almost always going to have 3. There is an easy mode where you can have 4. And then you can recruit characters through an in feature in the game. So if you want to get new characters, you can do that. It does take a while to get to that point in the game, and it's a risk because when you recruit new characters, your EXP is divided among those characters. And so your characters might not level as fast. And so it's a decision, and it's a strategic decision. So most of the time it is better to wait and recruit later on. We're gonna go ahead and end the phase there, and now the enemies are gonna spawn. And you can see they are gonna push their way through here, and there are a variety of different type of enemies. You can see that their stats are listed up there in the upper right-hand corner. And basically, there is no turn timer. Basically, you have your turn and then your opponent's turn. And the goal is to destroy these opponents before they get into your base. If they do get past the city perimeter, there is a mechanic called panic, which will reduce your rewards. So the incentive is to keep them out of your base so that you get better rewards. And so you try and meet them on the front line. If the enemy does breach your defenses and gets into your base, you have 1 turn to take them out before panic increases. So even if you're in like a really desperate situation, the odds are never going to really punish you if maybe you missed a fast moving unit that is going to hit you. It will just kind of give you another opportunity. Now you basically have move, action, and mana, and you can move your characters. You can take as many actions as they have. So this is my melee character, and we just got that new ability to stun here, and you can see I have a chance to stun the opponents, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I did manage to pull that off. And then I'm also going to run around here, and I have an attack that's a 2-line attack. We'll pop that off, run along here. We'll kill this guy. We'll switch to our archer. You can see our archer has a variety of different moves. You can see the mana cost and the action cost down in the lower corner down there. And our archer is just putting in work. And, you know, their abilities are inherently tied to the weapons that they have equipped, as we talked about earlier. So if you have a different weapon equipped, you are going to have a different ability. And there are about, you know, almost 4 or 5 weapon types for ranged and magic each. And I would say, you know, there's a lot of discussion on the forums in terms of how balanced the weapons are. And I think most of the weapons are pretty well balanced. I think a lot of the people who think weapons are imbalanced maybe aren't using them right, or are not fully familiar with the gameplay system yet, or have the correct amount of unlocks. One thing that you saw here is that my swordsman, or my hammerman, received a hit, and you'll notice his HP isn't gone. That's because the armor attribute in this game is basically like a temporary HP pool that refreshes every turn. So you are going to be able to get a amount of armor and be kind of a little bit tanky. We are in the part of the game though where it's kind of the beginning, where enemies are going to be able to hit you, and my team is a little bit more buff because I have more unlocks and more buffs for the start of the game. But if you're a newer player, your character might have died there. If you're playing on later levels, there's different monsters that come through that are larger, that have special attributes associated with them, like specifically, you know, like tank buster monsters, or monsters that can stun you, which can cause a real problem. Monsters that'll explode to take out your defenses. So the game does get more complex as it goes on, and I think it layers the complexity nicely. What you're gonna be doing the most of the time though is fighting off the hordes of monsters like this. And that's the majority of the gameplay here. It will get to a point though where you are overwhelmed with monsters, and I'll show you what that looks like. Let's just say I wasn't able to kill all these monsters, and even more monsters are gonna come, right? So I can't possibly kill all of these monsters at once. And you can see I have a problem on my hands, right? And this is kind of what really happens in the game, is suddenly you're overwhelmed and you're like, how do I deal with this? How do I stop them from getting in my base? And it becomes a lot about CC. It becomes a lot about movement and positioning, and how to position your units to take advantage of these vulnerabilities, or what might be a vulnerability in your units. Right now, we only have them attacking from one side, but what does happen as the game progresses is that you do get attacked from 2 sides and then finally 3 sides. And this is a part of the game which I think can be a little bit frustrating because you only have 3 heroes and you could get that one more or you could buy early, but you are kind of stuck in a situation where, let's say I get attacked from this side and this side at the same time, right? Not too bad, because I could position my archer, say right here, and my archer could move and support both sides. However, if I'm attacked on this side and then I'm attacked on this side, my archer is not going to be able to cross town fast enough without a warp gate to support my other side. So what's going to happen is, you know, depending on which side of the base the waves are attacking, you can actually end up with a little bit of an imbalanced experience in terms of difficulty, because you could get like 3 waves that start opposite of each other, and you could just be taking a beating because you're not able to adequately respond to both sides in a kind of well-off fashion. And that's kind of the aspect of the game that gets a little frustrating to me, is that that situation can happen and it hasn't been fully balanced yet. One other interesting thing about the map layout, this is the only map layout in the game, and each side has different things that are going on for it. You can see that there is a lake right here. There's a small little lake right here that offers you some defensive capability. There's a lake here. And so you have these unique experiences or different choke points on each side of your base. And this is still an early access game, and I'm really excited to see how they kind of pull off new maps, because I can imagine it would not be too difficult to create a different city or a different layout, and I can't wait to see them do that. Most of you are here though, and you're asking the question, should you buy this game right now? Is it going to be good in early access? And I can tell you the game is already really good. I'm already really enjoying it, and I would recommend you go and play it. Right now, I've already gotten 50 hours in it. The only reason I'm not playing it more is because my PS5 came in. So I would highly recommend this game. If you have any questions about this game, just ask me down in the description down below. And that's about it for my review. I hope you guys enjoy this game as much as I do, and have a great rest of your day, everybody.